All right, welcome back to another episode of The Real Mind Crime After Dark. We are going to react to a video from Swish County. I haven't heard of this channel before, but we're going to experience together. This one's called Scottie Pippen Has Officially Gone Insane. Now, before we get into this, I want to preface this. Scottie Pippen, growing up, was my second favorite player. Like, hands down, my second favorite player after Michael Jordan. I loved the duo between these two. I had nothing but respect for him. And in fact, because he was willing to play the support role, I had an abundance of respect for Scottie Pippen. And as a basketball player, that'll never change. What he did for the Bulls, that'll never change. It's not about stats. It's about, the little things he was willing to do. Now, that all being said, everything that he's done over the last 4 years, I think is absolutely disgusting and despicable. I do understand why, to an extent. I know a lot of bad things have gone on in his personal life, but I don't think that's an excuse for calling Phil Jackson a racist and for slandering Michael Jordan, your partner in crime. The people who you had all this success with. I don't think that's okay no matter what. I'm sure, me and a lot of you guys have been mentally not well in times of your life. And this level of attacking those who supported you is just never okay at that point. Now he's become the monster. All right. All that being said, I'm going to link the original video down below, as I always do, in the description. So if you want to watch this video without my commentary, feel free to do so. And for everybody else coming along, if you leave this video a like, I'd really appreciate it. It helps the video get out there and it helps my channel grow. So yeah, without further ado, thank you very much for watching. Here we go.
A lot of things that he did was based on him as an individual. And I think basketball is a team game.
Scottie Pippen has been making an absolute fool out of himself as of late. As one of the most impactful players that the game of basketball has ever seen, watching the sad decline of seemingly his entire life and mental state has been silently one of the saddest side stories in the basketball world. As someone whose game and impact spoke for itself, Scottie Pippen's post-retirement run has been a complete downward spiral, destroying the reputation of one of the most respected that the game has ever seen.
He started out okay when he was on ESPN, and it was just everything. Once he had some bad stuff happen in his personal life, that's when it spiraled.
Whether it be his off-the-court drama with Michael Jordan stemming from the Last Dance documentary, his more than ugly relationships in the public eye, or what seems to be a publicized manic episode, how the hell did Scottie Pippen go from a living legend to a straight-up laughingstock? Subscribe. Prior to the rings, prior to the Bulls, and prior to the drama, Scottie Pippen's path to the NBA was nothing short of incredible. Born into a family with 11 other kids and a small house in rural Arkansas, Scottie definitely never received a handout because there simply wasn't any to go around. The poverty that they suffered got even worse as his father would suffer a stroke in Scottie's freshman year of high school, and had you seen Scottie at this time, it sure as hell wasn't the all-time great point forward that we've come to know. Graduating high school at 6'1", Scottie didn't even crack any varsity time until his senior year, with production not notable enough to garner a lick of college attention. And had his high school coach not been connected with the head coach at Central Arkansas, Scottie may have been a career factory worker just like his pops. With the opportunity to ride the bench as a freshman, Scottie hit the damn lottery and then some, shooting to 6'8" with a giant 7'3" wingspan. I don't know if due to the second puberty or something, but at 24, 10, and 4, shooting 60% from the field.
Can you imagine growing that much?
Dude had a money glitch, jumping from a walk-on to an NBA lottery pick. Although playing in the NAIA opposed to the NCAA is going to result in a lack of scouting, and had it been today, you literally don't see this at all, but Jerry Krause, although widely hated, has one of the best eyes for talent that the game has ever seen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm among those who, honestly, I hate him for dismantling the Bulls the way he did. You don't do that when the team is just completing, on their final season, when they're about to win their 6th championship and their second three-peat, 3 in a row. He says, no matter what, even if you go undefeated and win the championship, you're fired, Phil. And Michael Jordan says, you fire my coach, I'm out of here too. And he went through with it. He followed it through to the end. Never apologized for it, never anything. It was so stupid. So I'll always bash him for that. However, if I look at the rosters that he put together, brilliant, because they're not star-studded. You know, that's the LeBron James method. Go for all the all-stars. Jerry had a different vision, and he would just get role players to surround Michael Jordan, and he was very successful at doing it. So I give him props for that.
And elected of the best wingman of all time, 5th overall in 1987. At this point, the rest was really history. Jordan was an all-star every year of his career that he played, was an individual beastly talent before Pippen entered the league, but this duo was still the best of all time. Although slow out of the gate, Pippen was largely the missing piece of this team. 7-time All-Star with career averages of 16, 6.5 of 5, dude was a brilliant two-way point forward, who, although he did have his moments of playoff underperformances, was 9 times out of 10 a fantastic playoff performer who may have been the second best player in the league at times. With 6 NBA rings and one of the most storied careers that the game has ever seen, the ongoing issues stemming from Scottie's behavior really stems back to during his playing days. What many consider the start of the fall of Scottie's public perception began when Scottie was really at his best. As the Bulls' first three-peat commenced and Jordan dipped to play baseball and gamble or some shit, Scottie Pippen had his chance to show the world that without the jump man, Pippen was him. And really,
for 1 year, he was. For 1 year, he was him. And then it collapsed.
He was kind of right. Third in MVP voting at nearly 22, 9, and 6 is one of the best defenders the game has ever seen. The dude was incredible.
Yeah.
With Jordan's toxicity out of the locker room, I guess Scottie had to bring that too. Known to argue with the whole coaching staff frequently and terrorizing Jerry Krause, the Zen Master even spoke up regarding Scottie's behavior at the time, stating, "We've asked Scottie to do too much. We've got to find other people to shoulder their load. Not exactly what you want of the guy who's supposed to lead you to the promised land." Scottie's leadership issues came to an unacceptable point in the 1994 playoffs. As with the game on the line against the New York Knicks, Phil Jackson would write a play giving Tony Kukoc the last shot instead of Pippen.
Yeah, and this is the play that Scottie refers to now as why Phil Jackson is a racist in his mind, because that's the only reason that Scottie can fathom that Tony Kukoc was picked to shoot the final shot. Scottie Pippen is a lot of things, but he was never a clutch shooter. Tony Kukoc was. So for a team that wants to win, Phil Jackson made the right call. I understand Scottie didn't like it. I understand. But that doesn't make Phil a racist. That makes him a good head coach. And they won.
Acting like a complete
He was right.
toddler, Scottie would go on to sit at the end of the bench, refusing to even enter back into the game for the last play after the coach's decision, giving Kukoc the much better shooter the last look. In what feels like a corrective measure by the basketball gods, Kukoc's buttery turnaround at the top of the key couldn't have hit any more nets. There wasn't any smiles after what should be another all-time moment from the all-time franchise, as Phil Jackson stormed off blankly to throw Pippen under the bus, which he deserved. This play, even years later, has...
Yeah, Bill Cartwright talks about this too, because he was like the old elder on the team. And Bill Cartwright retired after this, by the way. He was done. But yeah, he lectured the hell out of him, saying, "You let us down as our leader." And he was really disappointed in him, like a father would say to a son.
Has lived on and cemented Scottie as a player who couldn't win on his own, losing in 7 to the Knicks this season and really harming his reputation in the locker room. Steve Kerr came out years later and voiced his opinion and discontent with Pippen's lack of maturity. As a guy...
Really? Wait, while Pippen was in question of blah, 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 Steve Kerr was surprised by his move to stay at least. I'd like to see the whole quote, or an actual quote.
Guy who's looked at as the leader for all year long, how the hell do you quit on a team of guys who would have had your back no matter what? The stuff on what should have been a shining moment in Scottie's individual resume was ultimately buried by the glamorous savior of the franchise with Michael Jordan's return to basketball, of course. But in retrospect, the failure in his attempt of putting together an individual run for the Chicago Bulls did have a major impact on the way that his talent would be assessed in the future.
Okay, to fill in the gap, that second season without Michael Jordan, the Bulls were tanking. Like, that first year, they had the momentum to keep going. Scottie played great. The team played fantastic. But that second year, they fell right on their face. And that's when you have that famous clip of Scottie Pippen to the camera while he's on the bench, lifting up his Jordans so you can see the Jordan logo. And then he's pointing at it, and then he's saying with his fingers, like, come back, come back. So at this point, Scottie, I think, realized it, like what it is to be the guy, and he didn't want it anymore. You know, it was too much responsibility. So he was asking MJ to come back, and then the rest is history. I mean, we know what happened after that. MJ came in and did his job, and Scottie went back to his role as the number 2 guy, and they were very successful that way.
Depending on who you ask, you'll get some massively skewed perspectives of his career success. He's simultaneously the most underrated and overrated player of all time.
Yeah, it's true.
Which, of course, is due to his entire prime being buried in the shadow of the greatest player of all time. Scottie never received a fraction of the recognition that Jordan received during the Bulls' run, nor did he receive anywhere near the compensation, as Jordan was living like a rock star and then some, netting $30 million a year in the 90s. Scottie's 7-year, $18 million deal went down as one of the biggest underpayments in NBA history, and although still making a fortune.
To be fair, ownership told him not to sign the deal, but Scottie wanted that guaranteed generational wealth. And as you can see earlier in this video, he came from poverty, so it's understandable. But then later on, he became regretful of signing that deal, and he took it out on the ownership and Krause, the general manager, which I understand that he was angry, but he did sign the contract. So I'm always a little funny about this one, because you signed it. They told you not to sign it, but you wanted that guaranteed security. He got the guaranteed security, and then he was pissed off about it because, you know, it's like that FOMO because everyone else was making more money than him. That's a hard one. Let me know in the comments, but not emotionally, logically, what could have been done? Because I think he had all the control in that situation, but he chose to sign that long deal.
Through basketball, the insecurity that came with not feeling like he was paid the money.
Yeah, you might not want to be driving Ferraris too, buddy. You might have wanted to save that money
That he earned would become an ongoing trend throughout his post-retirement years. Financial struggles like a public 1990 divorce, poor decisions like losing 4 M's on a damn jet, and other legal...
You might not want to buy a jet too, Scottie. What was that first one? Seriously, ex-lover suing him, alleged $250 million. God damn.
1990 divorce, poor decisions like losing 4 M's on a damn jet, and other legal issues like an assault lawsuit put a strain on
Assault lawsuit, ready for knocking out another man. I didn't know that story.
Scottie's pocket, but that wasn't even the worst of it. Scottie's marriage to Real Housewives of Miami star Larsa Pippen certainly did a good job of getting him back into the media due to her Hollywood connections and over-the-top flashy lifestyle. But she did an even better job at making his life a nightmare in the process. Despite trying to keep their marital struggles away from the public eye for the sake of the couple's children, the Hollywood fix couldn't get enough of them, peaking with dramas involving Larsa cheating on Scottie with Future of all people, reaching a boiling point in the relationship in 2016 as Scottie filed for divorce. The filing would eventually drop as the two would attempt to work things out, but just 2 years later, and Larsa would file for divorce on her own. This sparked a pretty nasty custody war and an ugly asset divide battle as well, and as you can probably guess, half of the earnings for the championship runs were now going towards the Miami Barbie dolls burden bags.
Okay, so far up until this point, I gotta be brutally honest. All of these things were Scottie's choices. He's making these choices. He bought a jet. He bought a Ferrari. He fought a guy and got sued. You know, his first ex-wife, you know, he married her and then lost half of the money or a ton of money. Then he didn't learn his lesson. He goes and marries somebody who's got, you know, this kind of lifestyle, who you know she's going to be spending a ton of money. You know, this is not a cheap relationship, but he does it anyways. So far up until this point, these are all, you know, these are his choices backfiring on him. So far.
Bulls. Although the report of Scottie Pippen going bankrupt post-retirement are all fake news, he really hasn't found much success post-basketball retirement. After failing to land a coaching gig in the NBA and completely ruining his reputation with the Bulls organization during his attempt at being a public relations ambassador with the Bulls, outside of his limited role with ESPN, Scottie hasn't seen a damn thing go his way since he hung him up.
Okay, so no wonder why. So he wasn't doing ESPN for fun. He was broke.
But it wasn't until he burned the last bridge to success that he had that we really started to turn the focus to the train wreck that was slowly getting worse and worse. In 2009, as Michael Jordan would be inducted in the Hall of Fame, the first man that he thanked for helping him achieve the impossible was Scottie Pippen. And the following year, Jordan was the man that presented him the same honor.
Jordan still to this day, despite everything that's happened, has not said a negative thing about Scottie. Like, he doesn't bash him at all. All he ever does is thank him, and give him his flowers. Y'all remember the first time the Bulls won a championship against the Los Angeles Lakers? Jesus. Jordan got presented with the MVP, the Finals MVP, and he brought Scottie up there with him and said, like, we did this together, yada, yada, yada. I'll take the trophy, you take the truck, to make it a point like we did this together. Jordan has always given him his roses.
If there was anyone that the greatest player of all time had the utmost respect for, it was the guy that helped him reach the ridiculous heights, and the love seems completely mutual. From 2017 to 2019, as Scottie ventured into the sports broadcasting space, after numerous times of being asked on the Jordan vs. LeBron debate, Scottie's answer always followed basically how you would expect.
Michael Jordan is the greatest player to ever
Look at T-Mac.
choose and play in our game. No doubt about it.
The attitude, honor, and respect for what they accomplished certainly seem mutual, which he articulated after being asked about carrying Jordan off the court during the flu game.
You basically carrying him off the floor. What was? Tell me what
it was easy.
Like.
He carried me for like 11 seasons.
Even though both have had their personal yet different struggles descending from the top, neither have been shy to let the other one shine, because in reality, the legacy of one is non-existent without the other. Fast forward to current day, and every pedestal that Scottie has placed Jordan on, he's clearly been drop-kicked the hell off.
Yeah.
Going back on every word of praise that he said in his post-retirement years, what the hell happened?
Yeah, and that's the difference. Jordan still remains the same with this, but Scottie did a complete 180.
Well, simple answer is a chain reaction set off by the Netflix classic documentary The Last Dance. I'm sure we've all seen it by now. The documentary excelled at its goal, feeding the fans sports craze during the 2020 shutdown,
Absolutely.
educating younger fans on the greatness they weren't able to see, and
Yeah, it
giving
gave
the
us
world
something
the
to talk
reminder
about
that
at
Michael
work.
Jordan is still the best to ever do it. It's no surprise that with Jordan's creative control over the project, he really wanted to get that last message out clearly. But the documentary certainly did fall short in certain aspects, telling the story of the Chicago Bulls. Namely, that he had the best damn supporting cast in the NBA.
Yeah.
Tony Kukoc was one of the most underrated scorers and players of the 90s. Dennis Rodman's party side may have shown in the doc, but they kind of forgot that he was one of the best rebounders and defenders of all time, and Steve Kerr made half of his damn three balls. Scottie certainly caught the most love out of every other Bull.
Too bad Kerr wasn't in today's league, because he barely got any play time back then because he couldn't play defense. But he'd fit right in, and he'd be averaging 50% from the three. Like, yeah, we'd be talking a lot more about Steve Kerr if he played today.
With Jordan stating that there's no Jordan without Pippen, but even with being the second star of the doc, Pippen still voiced his dissatisfaction with his role in the film, to which Jordan responded, "You're right. If anyone's used to the self-obsession of Michael Jordan, it's Scottie Pippen. But watching a billionaire receive $10 million payday to be further glorified while kind of minimizing your role in the meantime, while you don't receive a single cent, was the insult to injury with his post-career struggles that Pippen needed to blow the hell up."
Again, though, it's about money for Scottie, because he made bad financial choices. So he's mad about the money.
Although letting Jordan know that the documentary wasn't going to break up their lifelong friendship, Scottie's Twitter fingers had a different story. In 2021, while marketing his autobiography, Scottie would begin his rampage against his heiress. He would go on to say that the Bulls did not win 6 championships because of Jordan. They did it to spite him. The bullying that went on...
Oh, yeah, that's just so ridiculous. Ridiculous. You had 1.5 seasons without MJ, man. You saw what it was like. You did. Oh, man, I'm not even gonna waste my time.
On in the Bulls locker room and practice facility is well documented from careers being destroyed along with Steve Kerr's nose. But hearing something like this out of Scottie Pippen's mouth was something that we never heard thus far. Walking back his claims on Jordan's flu game to jealously demand more respect for playing through his own injury, calling Jordan selfish for his baseball career, every respect paid was walked back. So far to even say that Jordan ruined basketball. In the 80s on the playground, you'd have everyone moving the ball around, passing to help the team. That stopped in the 80s. Kids wanted to be like Mike. And Mike didn't want to pass, rebound, or defend the best player. He wanted everything done for him. That's why I always believed LeBron James was the greatest player this game has ever seen. Grasping at every...
Yeah, and he's just doing that out of hate now. You know? Because he's formed this hatred narrative for, I mean, everybody from his past, it seems. So that's the best way to throw a punch at MJ, is to say, yeah, LeBron's the GOAT. You know? Sad.
Insults and story to tarnish the legacy, like being scammed out of $100 every game for rigging their bets, like he didn't figure out after the first 40 losses in a row. Scottie Pippen completely threw his old friend under the bus to sell a book, maybe? It's hard to gauge.
That's what I was believing that. I don't know how true it is, but I think because he was broke and he needed money, this book was his chance to make some of that money back. And he was willing to slander all the people who were in the trenches with him in the past in order to get that money.
The intentions of his emotional explosion. Hell, even Phil Jackson got some smug being accused of racism for writing up that play for Tony Kukoc in 1994, which has caught complete blowback by his colleagues.
And Dan Patrick kept trying to give Scott. I watched that whole interview. Dan Patrick kept over and over again trying to give Scottie an out. Like, are you sure that's what you mean? You know, like, are you sure you mean that makes him a racist? Like, Phil is a racist for doing that? Or was he just making a coaching decision, you know? But Scottie kept doubling down. Doubling, tripling, quadrupling down. That there would be no other reason that Phil would make that decision except for him being a racist.
Although his comments on the documentary and the perception of Jordan contain some truth, it really seems like he's acting in bad faith. He's known who Michael really is the last 35 fucking years. Maybe he's looking to capitalize off the fresh attention from the documentary and is willing to burn a few bridges if it means a few dollars. Or maybe the reality is a whole lot darker than that. Shortly before the onslaught of tweets attempting to tarnish Jordan's name, Scottie would tragically announce the passing of his firstborn son, Antron Pippen, at 33 years old. Nothing could go well for Scottie, man. And really, no one was in his corner either. Yeah, you were kind of the man 20 years ago, but your bank account reflects being an average NBA player with a history of failed relationships, legal issues, and now a second child passing after losing one of his twins back in his first marriage. And a traumatizing event that I really wouldn't wish on anyone. To add insult to injury, It seems like everyone who knows him has to stick it to him a little more. Jordan's son recently entering a relationship with Larsa Pippen.
And see, that's why earlier I said up until that point, everything was his decision, his choices. Excuse me. Because then some terrible things happened to him. You know, terrible things that were out of his control. And for those, Scottie, I am incredibly sorry. I hope you're going to be okay someday. I hope you find some help, that whatever kind of help that you need. And I hope you make an apology tour someday. You know, everybody will forgive you because you went through some terrible things. Those guys love you. They will forgive you. But get the help you need first, bro.
Giving the biggest middle finger to Scottie I've ever fucking seen. It really has gotten ugly for Pippen.
By the way,
and right now, it's certainly not getting any better.
That
After
didn't make
announcing a
things any
tour
better.
with the other Bulls to whine about not receiving enough clout for being role players or something 30 years ago, Scottie Pippen's story is a harsh reality check back into the real world. As even when you've done it all, reaching the top, starting from the very bottom, your entire life can free fall before you even know it. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, check out my last video here
Great
if you missed
video.
it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Great video. You earned a subscriber, Swish County. That was a great video. Fantastic video. Sorry, it's if my tone is a little, sad, it is hard for me to watch one of my heroes fall so far the way he has. I remember talking to my brother a bunch during the pandemic because of what Scottie was doing, and we were both heartbroken, because he's my big brother. So I would, we'd always, he'd always say, all right, I'm MJ, you're Scottie, whenever we'd play 2-on-2 with anybody or 5-on-5, we'd always play that 2-man game, so I'd be support and he'd be the main scorer, and we were pretty much unstoppable, and we were proud of it. So to become adults now, and to see how this all turned out, it was heartbreaking for both of us. But anyways, everybody, for those who made it this far, thank you very much for watching. Please leave the video a like if you could. Subscribe if you want more content like this. And let me know, what do you think about this whole thing? Do you think Scottie's gonna find the help he needs? Do you think Scottie did this all just because he needed the money and he needed to sell some books? Or do you think he's really just unhinged and he hates everybody from the past? Let me know what you think. We'll have a conversation about it down in the comments like we always do. Everybody, have a wonderful night. Stay safe. And I'll see you tomorrow morning for the next one. All right. Peace out, everybody.